Welcome to Obsidian for tabletop RPGs. Let's learn how to use the tool. Alright, g'day guys and welcome back today to another Obsidian video. Today we're going to be diving straight away into another CLI video. Okay, this time we're going to go a little bit further down the rabbit hole, and this one's going to probably be a long one. We're going to explore how to actually be able to enter our own custom content. Okay, so let's say we have a shiny new PDF for a product that we love and we want to use those monsters in our Obsidian Vault. We have a way of actually taking those stat blocks and copying them into the website and then using those in Obsidian. Or alternatively, there's actually a way to actually create your own custom monsters from scratch. So let's jump in and let's have a look. Okay, so the first thing we're actually going to need to do is get our copy of 5e Tools actually working on our computer. Alright, by now you should have watched the other videos in the CLI process, and I'm going to assume that you've watched those videos and you've stepped through this process up until this point. Now what that means is that you should have a copy of 5e Tools on your computer already. Right, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn that on so we can actually use it locally. Alright, so, can't see my plus button. What we're going to do is we're going to type in 5e Tools Wiki into Google. That's going to bring up the 5e Tools wiki page. From there, what we're actually going to do is come over to this left-hand side and see this section on running your own 5e Tools. Okay, so in here we have a really excellent installation guide. If you haven't watched my other videos on how to actually download the site, then that's all included here as well. I actually learned how to do a lot of this from this site. It's fantastic. But we've already done step one. Right, because we've actually already got the site on our computer. We've done that as part of our process to get the CLI tool working already. Now what we need to do is come down here and see step 2, build the site. This is actually optional, so we can skip that. All right, we don't need these steps for what we're doing. And then step 3 is serve run the site. Now this is what we're trying to do here. So there's a few different ways to do this. The way I'm going to use is this node.js. Alright, we basically go 1 through to 3, so it says follow the steps performed first time setup of Node.js. If we go up here, we can see there's actually instructions here. So we need to open up Node.js in another list here. I'm on a Windows installer. Looks like that's going to do it. So I will now run that. If the clicky thing works. Alright, here's the installer. So click next. I'm going to pay very little attention to this. And just get it installed. Alright, successfully installed. Finish. We come back to this site here. Open the terminal or command prompt and navigate to the 5e Tools folder and run npm space I. So what that means is we need to go to our CLI folder. We're in the bin folder, we're in the 5e Tools folder. From here in the address bar we'll type cmd. This is the bit that makes sure that it's running from this folder. Then we're going to right click with npm space I and press enter. And now we wait for this process to complete. So basically what is it doing? Look, I'm not technical enough to tell you everything of what this is doing, but my understanding is it's installing the JavaScript dependencies that the site is using, or the Node.js discrepancies. Blah, 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 blah. Looks like it is done. Looks like I've got some vulnerabilities. There's probably some network administrators watching this screaming at me right now. But that is done, so we can close that off and head back to our site. Skip back down here to step 3, serve run the site. We have now built the site with Node.js. Alright, now we're going to run the site. So we come back here, we copy this into the terminals. We go back to our folder for the 5e Tools. We type cmd. Again, you don't have to do this every time, right? I'm just doing it for the example. And we paste npm space run space serve .dev and let it run. Do I want to allow public and private networks to access this app? I'm going to go allow. I'll use my firewall at a later time probably to lock public access out, but I do use this internally across my own home network. Alright, so that is now running, okay? And we go through, we can see some details of what's running, the port it's running on, some of the details of what it's done. But importantly, it's this bit here, alright, available on this, alright, or on that one there. I want that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my browser, start a new tab, and paste that in. And we can see that I now have my own mirror of 5e tools running on my computer. This is where it starts to get interesting, guys, because this is now our own local copy of this. We can make changes and we can save them into this website, which gives us the ability to add data to it, and then of course we can export that data out using the CLI process. So win-win, right? All right, let's jump in and see what we want to do next. Okay, so here's the situation. It's 2003, and basically what is happening is there's a new monster manual that's just dropped. The monster manual is Flea Mortals. I'm super excited. I really want this content, but I don't use PDFs. I don't use physical books at my table. I use Obsidian. How do I get that into the actual tool? Well, that's what this process can do for us. If we go to Utilities and actually come down to Text Converter, we can actually see here that we've got an input and an output on either side. Now, what we can do, there's this menu over on the left here. We can set the type of thing that we're actually going to be entering. Now, this is important, right? Because this is sort of like pre-coded with options that work for most generic stat blocks. All right, it's not going to work on everything. You will find that there are things that are broken. But if you want to do a creature, you use creature. If you want to do a spell, you use spell. All right, now we come down here. We need to use a source. We don't have one. So what I would do is I would add new. In here, we're going to go Flea Mortals. I'm going to call it FM. There's a JSON identifier. That's what we're going to need, the code later. I think that's it. This isn't applicable. I don't need this. I don't really need this, but I could enter it because then it'll actually be available to me in later stuff. And then I will just do community. All right, and click OK. So now we have a source, and anything that's created will be made with that source. Now, if I bring my PDF over here, and the PDFs have changed everything, that really annoys me. Let's do a Death Hawk, okay? So we're just going to click here, and the idea is to copy the entire stat block. Now, with these specific stat blocks, I've noticed that this here and this here is actually on a separate line, technically underneath the stat block. See how when I scroll my mouse, it's actually underneath? So for me to do this one, I need to copy the entire thing. I actually just copy straight across here and I get the whole lot. I press Control C. I come over here to my import and paste, and I click pass. All right, that is now converted that entire stat block into JSON format. Okay. If I wanted to do another one, and you know, let's do 2 just for the purposes of it. I come in here, I paste, I click pass and add. All right, not pass this time. Pass will replace everything on the right. Pass and add will basically append it. So are we sure? Yes, here we go. All right, so I got lightning eel in there. And if I go down, I should be able to find the other one. Where did it go? Sometimes it's a bit hard to read the actual thing. Here it is, the Death Hawk. All right, so they're both in my content. All right, and as you can see, that's a really easy way for me to get my content over here. It's worth noting that sometimes, and it'll be hard for me to find an example of this, I probably should have had it ready. Sometimes it errors when you actually go through and you add these things over. And what I've found, one of the most common causes of errors is when the actual title, so this section up here, of a monster is actually separated across 2 separate lines. Alright, I just need to see if I can find an example for you. There we go, that one there. So this one is probably going to error because the title is on 2 separate lines. Alright, so let's go over here, let's paste this in. Alright, and if I click pass and add, alright, error, cannot read properties of undefined. Alright, so let's just check that. We've got the Deathhawk in there. It hasn't added that third creature there because of the error. If I actually come back here and just press backspace or delete and just take that extra line out, click pass and add, notice that it now works fine. Okay, so that's a very common cause of errors that I've found, is just that having the name on 2 different lines. I did the entire Flea Mortals book when it first came out for my own personal use, and I found that was the only error that I found. I can't guarantee that other PDFs aren't going to have different issues though, guys, right? They're all different. And if the person who's made the PDF has decided to go out on their own and do their own format and reformat the 5e Tools stat blocks template to do their own thing, this tool's probably not going to work, okay? It has expectations that everyone's following the same high-level sort of format. Anyway, we've got our content and we've now put it in here. So now we need to actually save that into 5e Tools for us to use. So we can click Save to Homebrew. Saved. Done. Alright, where did that just go? Alright, let's go into Utilities and go Homebrew Manager. Alright, I've got Flea Mortals, which I've added. Alright, we're going to turn that on. And then we're going to come here to, I think, Dungeon Master or References, Bestiary. And in here, usually I'll be able to find my my data. Hang on, where did I put it? What was the source called? I called it FM. Maybe I didn't turn it on properly. Homebrew Manager, click, get Homebrew. Flea Mortals. That's actually not my version. Okay, so that's actually already in there. So I don't need to worry about that. I think I just need to load. Or is that it? Update all. There we go, done. Sorry, I didn't click the update all button, right? So I've added that in now. Come back to Bestiary. We should be able to find it here. Maybe not. Let's click in here to the actual filter button. Oh, here we go. Here's my Flea Mortals. I've added it down here. So I click Save. That way I can add that in and I can therefore use that. Here's my FM. You can see it's a different color to say that I've added this. Alright, and if I turn off all, clear, there we go, and then I turn on my Flea Mortals and click Save, you can see I've now got the 3 that I've entered. Alright, so you can see the stat blocks are in there. You can see the linking has largely worked. Alright. And it's obviously a good idea to check these against your actual stat blocks to make sure that they're working. But for the most part, you know, that was pretty successful, right? We've managed to get that content directly into this tool, and we can now go through and obviously export that into our Obsidian using the same process as before. So, all right, let's jump in and see what else we can do. Okay, so we've learned how to take a PDF that we own and to put that content into the tool. That's easy enough. What if you want to make something yourself? All right, you can go into a note in Obsidian and obviously write it out however you want. That's an option. But there's also this tool here that's worth mentioning. Homebrew Builder under Utilities. Click in here, all right, and you can see this comes up. Now, if you haven't created a source yet, first it prompts you to select a source, all right, to associate with. I've gone ahead and done that already. So we've got the Flea Mortal source that's been basically picked to obviously use here. But as you can see, well, we can call this the lizard. Alright, we can use the full name, we can set the source, we can set the page, we can go basic, they are neutral, their challenge rating is a 2, efficiency bonus, a note, a level, they can be a level 4, and as you can see, as I enter this thing in, it's actually updating over here and it's creating us a stat block. Okay, so you can come through pretty easily and actually set these things up on how you want to do it. Alright, you can climb 20, you can borrow 10. Alright, and it's adding it in. As you can see, it's pretty simple. Alright, you can go through, just click, change your stats, set them up however you want. Add your abilities. Bonus intro. There we're going to add an action. Alright. I'm sure you guys can come up with more interesting things to type into here for your, obviously, your version of this. But as you can see, it's a step-by-step wizard tutorial that allows you to sort of go through and create these things. Alright, once you've done that, you know, you can come in here, you can add images to it. It's got the data, obviously in a JSON format. Of interest, it's also got this Markdown tab. I think the Obsidian community might find that rather interesting. Keeping in mind though that this Markdown tab is like raw Markdown. Alright, it's not designed for the TTRPG stat blocks, and that's the benefit of us using the CLI tool, right? So we're going to go ahead and do that. Down the bottom though is the save button. Alright, so if we click save, that's now saved. From reference, we can go bestiary. Alright, and we can see that our bearded lizard is now available in the tool. And this is exactly where we want to be. Alright, we've now got our custom creation ready for us to play with. We've also got the ability to add things from PDFs that we own. Alright, and keeping in mind this is all for personal use, so this is a fantastic tool for us to use. That's all basically saved and available. We now need to figure out how to get this content out of our 5e Tools tool and into our Obsidian for a setup. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so the trick to this is to go to the Homebrew Manager tab or page. Alright, you can see here that we've got our Homebrew. Now you can mess around with this and you can obviously like come along and have lots of sources on for whatever, but in this case here I want my Flea Mortal stuff, right? Because that's got the 3 new monsters that I've just entered myself. And what you need is this mass button. Now, the PF2E version of, or PF2E Tools doesn't have this button, so just a heads up, this only works for 5e Tools. But the mass button is there, we click that, and we click export. That actually gives us the JSON file. And from there we can cut that file, and we can go back to our CLI tool. We're going to come in here to, we could probably put it in our own folder, maybe, custom, and then paste it into here. Alright, so we're in the bin folder, we've created a custom folder, and we're now in here with the flea.models.json. If we just double click that quickly and have a look, we can see we now have structured JSON content. Alright, so just like we had previously. Now, obviously it's probably a good idea for you to watch my last video on the CLI process, so how to use Homebrew content, because this is very much the same process, and I'll run through this relatively quickly. But if we go to the dm sources.basic that we used in our previous video, alright, we've basically got the sources in here, and we need to add the source. So let's go through to custom, open up fleamortals.json, remembering that we need the JSON name, so Flea Mortals, we'll copy that. Alright, then we'll bring open the config file, and we're going to add an option in here for Flea Mortals. Click save. Alright, now this is specifically, like, this is the source that we entered, right? So remember at the very start we had to create a source where we say, this is this book, this is the people who made it, this is the link to the content. Ultimately that's what we're adding in here. And just to quickly call out, is to use the JSON name, alright? Not the abbreviation, that won't work. Not the full name, it must be the JSON name. That's specifically for Homebrew. For official it's actually different. Alright, so we save that. Done. Alright, we've basically said we're going to use the Flea Mortal content. Alright, now we're going to go back to our bin folder and we're going to come back to Obsidian, and you'll remember that I keep my CLI command in my CLI folder. Alright, down here I've got a version of this that I was playing with before, and what I'm going to do is just create a new version of this, all right, with a new source. So per my last video, I've added Tomb of Beasts. In here though, I'm going to add quotation mark, and then what I need to do is get the custom fleamortals.json. So from the bin folder, all right, we do custom /JSON name. Okay, so as we can see here, this folder structure, we'll try to put that there, needs to start from the bin folder. All right, you can see this one here goes Homebrew, that's where that content is. In this case here, I'm in the custom, we're in the custom, and then I've got a slash, and then that's where I put the JSON file that I've just downloaded from the 5eTools local instance. All right, done. We have that there. All right, we're now ready to copy this command. And then if we come back to our bin folder, all right, we're going to press in the actual address bar, we're going to type CMD, enter. That opens up a command window. We're going to right click to paste the command that we've put in, and we're going to press enter. And we're going to wait for that to do its thing. Alright, it's actually had a bit of a heart attack. Why? I actually changed some things, and I went through this in the last video, so the slash mains there actually need to be changed in here because I've changed the structure. Because I've moved to a new computer, I need to make sure that everything matches. Alright, so if I open up the dmsource.basic, what have I got? TTRPG convert.cli. What have I done wrong? I thought I knew what I did wrong, but I might. Let's read the error. Template file not specified. Template file not specified. Template file not specified. In my DM sources, no. What did I do? DM sources just Josh. Okay, sorry, I changed it to use the wrong one. I'm using my big JSON file, like my big config file. I'm just going to change this command to use the basic version. Alright, so this here needs to match the name of the actual config file that I'm using, so dm-sources-basic. I was using my big one, which has not been updated for my new computer yet. Alright, so we're going to copy that. We're going to come back to here. Alright, I'm going to delete, just close this, just so you guys can see from a clean, fresh start. Type in the address bar, CMD, right click, paste, press enter. Finish reading the config. Alright, it's finished reading our new fleamortals.json. Alright, and it's outputting. Now, where did this output to? We outputted to dash the DM folder. Alright, so in here. And if we go into that and go into mechanics, CLI, bestiary, and kind of what I need to do to confirm this has worked is just find out where these might have gone. So if I look at the Deathhawk, what is it? It's a beast. And the lightning eel is a beast. So if I look in the beast folder, alright, and we come down here and we look for lightning eel dash flea mortals. Okay, so it has worked. It's attached that JSON name to the end of it so that we know this is unique to that book. Alright, if we open that up, we can see all of that is there. Alright, and it's basically ready for us to copy and paste into Obsidian and use from that point. Alright, that's it. You know, that's how we go about using a 5eTools instance to basically, we can either copy in content from a PDF, and there's lots of different sort of options there, like spells and items and monsters, or we can use that monster creator to actually create our own items, and we can use a step-by-step wizard. Once it's in the 5eTools, we export it. Alright, we export it using the mass button from the Homebrew Manager page. Alright, and then we put it into a folder where we can access it within our CLI structure. We reference it from our config file, we reference it from the command, and we run it and we get our notes. Alright, there we go. We now know how to use the CLI tool to get the absolute most out of it. All right, and the thing I like about this specific process that we're doing now, there's nothing wrong with what we're doing, right? If you own the PDF, you can freely use it however you like, and you can use a local version of 5e Tools to do that. If you're creating your own custom items, like that's what this game is about, right? Creating your own custom items, you can now do that in a way that it's referenced within all of your CLI. And don't forget, guys, the way the CLI works, right, is that if something is like linking within that concept, like within that actual group of CLI notes, they're all going to sublink together. So the monsters you create, if they're using spells or whatever, will automatically have links to those spell names. And I think that's really, really powerful. Anyway, there you go. That has been the Obsidian CLI TTRPG process. I want to say a massive, huge shout out to Ebullient. If you do not know, let's just do this. TTRPG CLI. Alright, come over here to the GitHub. Alright, this is Ebullient's page. This is absolutely fantastic. What I really recommend everyone does is come to this link here and you buy Ebullient a coffee. Alright, the amount of time she puts into this thing is insane. She's always looking to improve it. If someone notices something's breaking, she's fixing it. And you know what? I think that's worthy of our support. So thank you. It's a fantastic tool. And hopefully this video series has made it a little bit easier for those of us who aren't technical to sort of understand, right? Because I will hand on heart say that when I first started down this process, I was scared of this thing for like 6 months, 9 months. I tried it, it didn't work. I tried it, it didn't work. I couldn't get it to work. I finally cracked it, and then now we've finally cracked it in a way that hopefully you guys can also crack it yourself. Alright, outside of that, I want to say a huge and massive shout out to all my patrons. Come along here to obsidianttrpgtutorials.com. Just a heads up that all of this is documented in here, so if you want to know how to run this process and you don't want to watch the video, then I've also got those notes documented in here. If you are coming through to here though and you are new to this community, don't forget to hit on that community and support button. The Obsidian TTRPG community Discord is where we all hide. If you need help with anything TTRPG related, we have a couple of thousand people in there now, I think, using this tool on the daily basis, helping each other make this better. If you've got a question that's not TTRPG related, but Obsidian related, maybe it's for DataView plugin, for example, come over here to Obsidian official Discord server. There's a lot more people in there. You'll get quicker help, I can guarantee you that. And also, if you'd like to help me support make more videos, I've got my Patreon available here. For the price of a coffee a month, you get access to my Patreon. You don't need it, it's just to say thank you. But what that does give you access to my Patreon vault. The Patreon vault is designed as sort of like a downloadable foundational vault for you to start your TTRPG journey on. Alright, gives you the folder structure, files to find, some templates, they all link together. There's data view queries showing how many notes have been made and all that sort of stuff, and it pulls it all together, and hopefully that will be useful for new people starting on this journey. Outside of that, guys, if you do enjoy this content, please do like and subscribe using the buttons below, wherever they are. And outside of that, thank you, and I will speak to you on the socials.